Something about finally wanting to stay alive. I met Tristan the night he was about to jump off the roof of Hudson State's library. Sounds dramatic. Trust me, it was so much worse in the moment. It was a Wednesday night, a genuinely terrible day. My computer had just wiped my entire final project. Professor Martin graded like he had a personal vendetta against society, and my roommate had brought his girlfriend over and made our bunk bed shake like an earthquake for 2 straight hours. So around midnight, I grabbed my laptop and headed to the library before I lost my mind. Hudson State at night is beautiful in a lonely kind of way. The campus spread out under pale yellow lights, red maple leaves blanketing every path. The late autumn wind was cold enough to numb both my hands, even tucked inside my jacket pockets. Distant frat houses still blasted music, but the library area was almost completely silent. I bought a can of coffee from the vending machine and climbed up to the library rooftop, the only place that still lets students study through the night. At least I thought I'd be alone up there, until I saw a guy standing on the outside of the railing. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. What the fuck? I dropped my coffee can. The noise made him turn around. Black hair tousled by the wind. A gray hoodie, oversized and loose. Blue eyes cold under the night lights that made him look simultaneously beautiful and dangerous. And his feet were still standing on the outside of the 6th floor railing. I froze for a few seconds. "Don't move," I said immediately. He raised an eyebrow. "I'm not holding a knife. I don't care. Just stay still." He looked at me like he was trying to decide whether I was more stupid or more interesting. Then suddenly he laughed. "You think I'm about to jump?" "Yeah." "No. I don't believe you. I'm just sitting." "You're sitting outside a 6th floor railing." "Fair point." I stood there breathing like I'd just run a marathon, while he was calm enough to be infuriating. The night wind blew hard, making his hoodie flutter. "If I walk over," I said slowly, "you won't do anything stupid, will you?" "What stupid thing?" "Like dying." "Oh." He thought for a few seconds. "No plans for that tonight." "Tonight?" "Joking. Not funny at all." Again he laughed. "God, some people are born so beautiful that even when they're sitting like a psychopath on the edge of a building they still look like magazine covers." I hated that. "What's your name?" I asked. "Tristan." "I'm Leo." Sounds like an indie film protagonist. And Tristan sounds like a rich, pretty boy who specializes in hurting people. "Wow." He laughed softly. "Do you always talk like this?" "Only when I'm panicking." I slowly walked closer. The distance between us shrank to just a few meters. Now I could see Tristan's face clearly. A small cut on his lower lip. Pretty dark circles under his eyes. And that look in them, not like someone who wanted to die. More like someone too exhausted to keep pretending they were okay. "Why are you up here?" I asked softer now. Tristan leaned his head back against the iron frame behind him. "Wanted some quiet. Hudson State has 1,000 quiet spots. None of them are this high. You really like giving people heart attacks, don't you?" "Probably." I sat down at a safe distance from him. "So now what?" "Now what? I can't just leave you here. You don't even know me." "True. But if the school sends an email tomorrow saying, 'A student fell from the library,' I'll be traumatized for life." Tristan was quiet for a few seconds. Then he looked down at the dark campus below. "I really wasn't going to jump." "Okay. But earlier," his voice grew smaller. "I was thinking about what it would be like if I just disappeared." The cold wind swept across the rooftop. I didn't answer right away, because I understood that feeling. Not wanting to die, just sometimes being so exhausted, so lonely, so empty, that disappearing sounded lighter than existing. "I've thought that too," I said quietly. Tristan turned to look at me for the first time. "Really look?" "Really? Yeah." "When?" "I came out as gay when I was 17. I shrugged. Not everyone reacted beautifully. Tristan watched me closely. "No pity. No excessive curiosity. Just listening." That made my chest tighten a little. "Your family?" Tristan asked. "My mom was okay. My dad?" I laughed bitterly. He needed time. And now, Better. Good. What about you? Tristan smiled very faintly. My dad thinks being gay is a disease. Ah, that was the kind of smile that hurt most. The kind where someone has heard that sentence so many times they no longer have the energy to be sad about it. Does he know about you? He knows. And he stopped calling me 3 months ago. I looked at Tristan. For the first time, I noticed he was shaking. Whether from the cold or from what he'd just said, I couldn't tell. Maybe both. Without overthinking it, I pulled off my jacket and tossed it to him. Tristan blinked. You'll be cold. I still want to graduate, so please do me a favor and put it on. He laughed. A low, hoarse sound, and finally climbed back over the railing. I exhaled so hard I got dizzy. God, I told you I wasn't going to jump. You looked like the opening scene of a tragedy. Sorry for having too strong an aesthetic. I burst out laughing, and so did Tristan. Our laughter rang out across the cold rooftop just before 1 in the morning. Strange. 10 minutes ago I thought I was about to witness a suicide, and now I was sitting next to an incredibly beautiful stranger, sharing a terrible bag of snacks from the vending machine. Leo, Tristan suddenly said. What if you hadn't come up here tonight? I looked at him for a few seconds, then answered honestly, I don't know. Tristan ducked his head and smiled. Maybe. I don't know either. The night wind moved through his dark hair. And in that moment, I had absolutely no idea that the boy I'd found on that rooftop would become the person I'd love so deeply there'd be no way back. That night, I got Tristan down from the rooftop by promising to buy him donuts at the 24/7 shop near the South Campus gate. It sounds stupid, but strangely it worked. You're really easy to bribe, I said, hands stuffed into my hoodie pockets. No. Tristan walked beside me, holding a warm cup of coffee. I'm emotionally destroyed, not dead inside. Wow, good for you. Donuts are a legitimate form of therapy. I study design, not medicine, but that sounds wrong. Tristan laughed softly. For the first time since we'd met, I saw the tension around his eyes ease a little. Hudson State at 1 in the morning felt like another world. The red brick buildings glowed under pale yellow lights, music from the frat houses carrying far in the cold wind. A few drunk students ran across the lawn, shouting each other's names like a low-budget American teen movie. Tristan watched them for a moment, then asked, Do you ever feel like you don't belong to any of this? All the pointless parties? Yeah. I shrugged. I used to force myself to like them. And I hate making small talk with drunk people. Fair. I'd rather be in the library. Jesus Christ. Tristan put a hand over his chest like he'd been insulted. You're actually a sexy nerd. I nearly choked on air. What? You heard me. I think you're still in psychological shock. I'm not blind. I turned to look at him. Tristan was smiling. Not the strained smile from before. A real one. Devastatingly beautiful. I quickly looked away. This was bad. I'd known him for under 2 hours. This was exactly the kind of situation that opened the door to terrible life decisions. The donut shop was nearly empty. A cashier was watching an old sitcom behind the counter. Didn't even bother looking up when we walked in. Tristan leaned on the glass display case. A box of 12. I turned sharply. There are 2 of us. Don't limit my dreams. We ended up carrying the whole box outside and sitting on the front steps of the shop. It was cold enough that our breath came out in white clouds. Tristan took a bite of a chocolate donut and made a small sound like he'd just found the meaning of life. I want to marry this. I'll give you 2 some privacy. You're invited to the wedding. What an honor. We sat quietly for a few minutes. Not awkward, just still. That was rare. Usually I wasn't good with strangers. I tended to overthink what I should say, how I should react. But being next to Tristan was strange in the best way. Like we'd known each other before. Why did you come up to the roof tonight? Tristan asked suddenly. I lost my project files. That's a valid reason to want to die. Thank you for validating that. What's your major? Graphic design. Tristan let out a low whistle. Cool. What about you? Tristan turned his coffee cup in his hands. Music. I was a little surprised. Really? Yeah. You talk like a philosophy student with insomnia. That's a hobby. I laughed. What do you play? Guitar. A little piano. Band. Freshman year, yeah. Had a band. Past tense. Tristan went quiet. Then he shrugged. It fell apart. The way he said it sounded light, but I felt like there was a lot of story he wasn't telling. And somehow I didn't want to push. Do you perform anywhere? I asked. Sometimes at a bar off campus. Seriously? Yeah. So it's possible I've actually seen you before. Tristan looked at me for a few seconds. That strange expression came back into his eyes. Maybe. There's that mysterious voice again. Sorry. He smiled softly. I was just thinking. About what? That tonight should have been really bad. But then you showed up. My heart stuttered. God. Tristan said things like that with a completely straight face, like he had no idea how dangerous they were. I took a hard bite of donut to stop myself from saying something stupid. Do you flirt with everyone? Tristan laughed. No. Good. Why? Because that wouldn't be fair. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then the corner of his mouth curved up slowly. Leo. I think you're flirting back. I immediately choked on my donut. Tristan laughed so hard he nearly knocked over the box. Holy shit, you're actually blushing. I hate you. No, you don't. The worst part was he was right. Around 2 in the morning, Tristan's phone started buzzing. The name on the screen, Ethan. The smile on Tristan's face disappeared almost instantly. He stared at the screen for a few seconds, then declined the call. Ex-boyfriend. I guessed. Yeah. Hard to get over? Tristan laughed humorlessly. No. He looked down at his coffee. Just hard to accept that you weren't enough for someone. I didn't respond right away, because that hit something in me. Maybe everyone has felt that at some point. That feeling of being seen and still not being chosen. He's an idiot, I said finally. Tristan laughed. Exhausted. You haven't even met him. I don't need to. I shrugged. Anyone who walks away from a good-looking guy who plays guitar in the cold like this is definitely an idiot. This time Tristan was quiet for longer. He looked at me with eyes so soft I had to look away first. The air suddenly felt different. Warmer. More dangerous. I hated that I noticed. Leo, Tristan said quietly. Yeah. If I kissed you right now. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. Then what? Tristan tilted his head. Would you hit me? I looked at him. The night wind tossed his soft, dark hair across his forehead. Those blue eyes caught the pale yellow glow of the streetlights, tired but devastatingly beautiful. And the most terrifying thing was, I genuinely wanted him to kiss me. We'd known each other for less than 3 hours. So stupid. So dangerous. But I still asked quietly, Are you going to? Tristan looked at my lips for a few seconds. Then he smiled very slightly. No. Oh. Not while you're looking at me like you're about to pass out. I'm not. You are. I buried my face in my hands and groaned. I hate college. Funny. Tristan rested his chin in his hand and looked at me. I think I'm starting to like it. I don't remember what time I got back to my room. I only remember Tristan standing outside Mercer Hall's entrance, both hands in the pockets of my hoodie, looking at me with an expression that completely scrambled my brain. So, he drew out the word. Is this the part where we pretend there's no sexual tension? I nearly tripped on the front step. Jesus Christ, do you always talk like this? Only when I like someone. My heart beat so hard I could feel it in my ears. Tristan said things like that so effortlessly. No hesitation, no deflection, no pretending it was a joke to ease the tension. While I stood there like an idiot who just had his ability to communicate revoked. You met me 3 hours ago, I weakly pushed back. And normal people don't flirt this aggressively. Leo. Tristan stepped a little closer. Do I look normal to you? That wasn't fair. Not even a little. We were close enough that I could smell coffee and faint mint on him. I swallowed. You're genuinely dangerous. Tristan smiled softly. You still haven't run away. I hated that he was right. We ended up exchanging numbers before going our separate ways. By the time I was lying in bed, my head was still spinning from those blue-gray eyes. And the worst part? I wasn't even sure whether I was drawn to Tristan or being pulled into something much deeper. The next morning, I woke up with a splitting headache and 12 texts from my roommate. Mason, where are you? Mason, the guy I brought home thought you got kidnapped. Mason, wait. Mason, did you spend the night with some guy? I was about to reply when my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I just fell asleep in music history. Unknown number. The professor threw an eraser at my head. Unknown number. I think he hates beautiful people. I burst out laughing right there in the middle of the room. Mason lifted his head from the bottom bunk like he'd seen a ghost. Holy shit. What? You're laughing at your phone. I do that. No, you don't. Mason pointed straight at my face. You're doing the smile. The one you get when a hot guy texts you. I immediately threw a pillow at him. Go away. Oh my God, it's real. I will end you. Mason cackled. What's his name? Tristan. Sounds rich. How do you even sort names by wealth class? Instinct. My phone buzzed again. Tristan. I think your hoodie brings good luck. Tristan. Or at least it makes me less want to die. The smile on my lips slowly faded. I stared at that message for a few seconds, then replied. Leo. Don't say things like that like they're nothing. Typing. Tristan. Sorry. A moment later. Tristan. I'm trying to learn how to stay. My chest constricted. God. I'd never met anyone who talked about their own sadness like that. No complaints. No drama. Just tired. Like he'd been fighting for too long. Leo. Have lunch with me? 3 seconds later. Tristan. Are you saving me? Leo. No. I paused, then kept typing. Leo. I just want to see you. This time Tristan took almost a full minute to reply. Tristan. Okay. By noon, I was already regretting every life decision I'd ever made, because Tristan walked into the dining hall like a curse. He was wearing a black wide-neck sweater, hair still slightly damp like he'd just showered, silver headphones around his neck. At least 5 people turned to look. A girl at the table near the door nearly spilled her water. I hated that I understood the feeling completely. Tristan spotted me almost immediately, and then he smiled. The kind of smile meant for just one person. I was so done for.
Hey, sexy nerd.
I genuinely hate that nickname. No, you don't. Tristan sat down across from me and casually reached over and stole fries off my tray like we'd known each other for years. Hey, you share food really cutely. I wasn't sharing. Too late. I was about to fight back when the girls at the next table started whispering far too loudly. Oh my God. The guy at that table looks like a model. I like the dark-haired one more. No, the other one is cuter. I can hear all of you, I announced. Both girls turned red and fled. Tristan laughed so hard his shoulders shook. Cuter, huh? I'm done with you. No, you're not. Tristan rested his chin in his hand. You like me too much already. You're very confident. I have eyes. I hated that I was blushing again. Tristan watched me for a moment, then suddenly asked, Have you ever been in love? The question made me pause. Yeah. Did it hurt? A lot. Tristan nodded slightly, like he'd already guessed. What did he do? Worse than that. I laughed a little bitterly. He didn't do anything. I loved someone who didn't love me enough. Tristan's eyes softened. Leo. Pretty bad, right?
No.
He held my gaze for a long moment. He was just stupid. I laughed softly. You always take my side so fast. Yeah. Why? Tristan was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said quietly, Because somehow, being around you makes me want to be a better version of myself. My heart shifted out of rhythm. The air around us went strangely still. Even the noise of the dining hall seemed to fade. Tristan looked at me with eyes so genuine it was almost frightening. And for the first time since meeting him, I realized I might be in real danger. Not the bad kind. The kind that makes you fall too fast, too deep, before you have any chance to protect yourself. Don't look at me like that, I muttered. Like what? Like I'm something special. Tristan tilted his head. But you are. God, I was completely done for. After that lunch, Tristan started appearing in my life like he'd always belonged there. At first, it was just random texts. My piano professor just called Mozart a drama queen. Do you think it's legal to marry the library cat? Someone just played Wonderwall in the dorm for the third time. I want to sue. Then gradually, Tristan appeared everywhere, sitting beside me in the library even though he never got a single word of studying done, bringing me extra coffee whenever I stayed up too late working on projects, pressing his headphones to my ears to make me listen to demo tracks he'd written during bouts of insomnia. And the terrible thing was, I started looking forward to it. I think you've been cursed, Mason said one Friday night, watching me smile at my phone for the 10th time that day. I'm not smiling. You just smiled at your screen like the protagonist of a rom-com. I hate you. You like him, don't you? I lay stretched out on my bed, staring at a new voice message Tristan had sent. I don't know. Mason looked at me for a few seconds, then sighed. You know what the scariest thing is? What? Your face. I frowned. What about my face? You're happy. That shut me up. Strange. Because I hadn't noticed until someone else said it out loud. A week later, Tristan dragged me to the small bar off campus where he performed. The place was called Blue Vinyl, the kind of spot where the lighting was always dimmer than necessary and the smell of old beer had soaked into every wooden chair. You actually play here? I asked, squeezing through the crowd. Offended. Tristan put a hand on his chest. I have indie artist energy. You have this person causes problems energy. Also true. That night Tristan was wearing a black button-up with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, a silver chain just visible below his collar. I didn't know whether to look at his face or his hands as they tuned the guitar strings. Completely unfair. Don't look at me like that, Tristan murmured, bent over adjusting the mic. I startled. Like what? Like you want to take my shirt off with your eyes. I almost died right there. You! Tristan burst out laughing and stepped up onto the stage before I could respond.
Absolute menace.
But then he started to sing, and the whole bar went quiet. Tristan's voice was slightly rough, low and sad in a way that made my chest ache. He sang a song I'd never heard, probably something he'd written himself. Something about lonely boys and city lights. Something about wanting to be loved loudly. I had never seen Tristan this serious before.
No teasing. No flirting.
Just him and a guitar under pale yellow light. So beautiful it was hard to breathe. A girl standing beside me whispered to her friend, "Holy shit, he's so attractive." I hated how immediately bothered I felt. Very bothered. When the song ended, the whole bar erupted. Tristan looked up through the cheering crowd and looked straight toward me. Not the audience. Not the friends gathered near the stage. Me. That look made my heart go completely haywire. After the show, I'd barely recovered when a tall guy threw an arm around Tristan's shoulders. "My man," he said loudly. "Great set." Tristan smiled politely. "Thanks. We're heading to an after-party. You coming?"
No.
"Come on. I have plans." The guy frowned. "Plans with who?" Tristan didn't answer. He just tilted his head toward me, standing near the bar. And then, with him, I immediately choked on my Coke. The guy looked me up and down, understanding crossing his face instantly. Oh, I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself in it. After he left, I spun to face Tristan. "What did you just do?" He thinks we're on a date. Does he? Tristan. He laughed hard enough to need the bar for support.
Sorry.
Tristan leaned in a little closer. "But your face when you panic is genuinely cute." I was about to say something when his phone vibrated. The name on the screen made his smile vanish on the spot. "Ethan." I watched Tristan's jaw tighten. "You don't have to answer," I said quietly. Tristan stared at the screen for a few seconds. then declined the call. But less than 10 seconds later, Ethan called again. And this time, Tristan sighed. I have to step outside a minute. I nodded. Yeah. Tristan walked out toward the back of the bar. And I sat there, watching the ice in my glass slowly melt. I didn't like this feeling. Didn't like how just a name could make Tristan change in an instant. Didn't like that I was already jealous of someone I had no claim over yet. This was bad. About 10 minutes later, Tristan came back. His face was blank. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah. A lie. I could tell immediately. But Tristan clearly didn't want to talk about it. We left the bar close to midnight. Cold wind swept down the empty street, the music behind us fading. Tristan walked beside me in an unusual silence, until he suddenly said, Leo. If someone hurts you. Tristan's voice was very small. Can you stop loving them just like that? I looked at him for a few seconds.
No.
Even if they make you hurt? Yeah. Tristan laughed bitterly. Sounds stupid. Love is stupid. He turned to look at me. I so sad my chest ached. I think something is wrong with me, Tristan whispered. There isn't. There is. He smiled painfully. I keep going back to people who don't choose me. I stopped walking in the middle of the sidewalk. Tristan. Look at me. He slowly raised his head. The streetlight fell across that heartbreakingly beautiful face. And for the first time I reached out and gently touched his cheek. Warm. Trembling slightly. The people who don't choose you are the stupid ones, I said very quietly. Tristan stared at me. Neither of us said anything. The cold wind moved through the space between us. Then Tristan whispered, Leo. I swallowed. What? I think if you keep looking at me like this. He smiled sadly. I'm going to kiss you for real. My heart almost stopped. And this time, I didn't step back. Tristan kissed me right under the streetlight outside Blue Vinyl.
No fireworks. No soundtrack.
Just the cold late autumn wind and the sound of my heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted to break out. The moment his lips first touched mine, my mind went completely blank. Soft, warm, and God gentle in a way that made my chest hurt. Tristan brought one hand up to rest lightly at the back of my neck, like he was afraid I'd disappear. He kissed slowly, carefully, as if giving me the chance to pull away at any moment. But I didn't. Instead, I pulled him closer. A small sound escaped Tristan's throat when I fisted his shirt in my hands. Holy shit. I was really kissing this boy. When we pulled apart, we were both a little breathless. Tristan was still very close, his forehead nearly touching mine. Wow, he whispered. I laughed because I was too tense not to. That's exactly the word I was going to say. Tristan's lips curved. So, he looked at me with devastatingly dangerous eyes. Can I kiss you again? I think if you ask that politely, it kind of kills the mood. Tristan laughed, low and rough, and kissed me again. Harder this time. I almost forgot I was standing in the middle of the street, until a car drove by and someone shouted, Get a room. I jumped back hard. Tristan was laughing like he might die. I hate America, I muttered. I'm having a wonderful time. We walked back to campus close to 1 in the morning. Tristan kept almost touching my hand, then pulling back, like he still wasn't used to this being real. Honestly, same. So, Tristan spoke up. What did we just do? Kiss each other? Thank you, Einstein. I'm doing my best. Tristan laughed softly, then went quiet for a few seconds. I don't want this to be just a moment. That made my steps slow. Tristan kept looking straight ahead, voice very low. I know I'm a little chaotic, and maybe I'm not completely over Ethan. He swallowed. But what I feel with you is real. My chest tightened. God, no one had ever said anything to me with eyes that honest before. Tristan, you don't have to say anything right now. He smiled, strained. I reached over and pressed a quick kiss to his cheek. Tristan completely froze. Holy shit. Now it was my turn to smile. That's my word. Tristan's ear went bright red under the streetlight. That satisfied me far more than it should have. You're blushing. I'm not blushing. So cute. Leo. Yeah. I hate that you make me feel cute. Too bad. He looked at me for a moment, then suddenly burst out laughing. A real laugh. Not forced. Not sad. And in that moment, I realized I was becoming addicted to making Tristan laugh. Everything between us changed after that night. No one said it out loud, but we both knew. Tristan started showing up in my life almost every day. Sometimes just to lie across my bed listening to music while I worked on projects. Sometimes to drag me out at 2 in the morning because the brain needs mozzarella sticks to survive. And then there were nights like tonight. He was lying on the floor of my room, guitar across his lap, while I pretended to study even though I'd actually been watching Tristan for the last 10 minutes. You're staring, Tristan said without looking up. I'm not staring. You're looking at me like the protagonist of a coming-of-age film. I hate you. No, you don't. Tristan started playing a slow, quiet melody. I rested my chin in my hand and watched him. New song. Yeah. Does it have lyrics? Not finished yet. Play me what you have. Tristan hesitated for a few seconds. Then he sang. His low, slightly rough voice filled the small dorm room. Something about falling too fast. Something about a boy with tired eyes and paint-stained hands. Something about finally wanting to stay alive. I went completely still. Tristan. He stopped playing immediately. Too sentimental? Did you write this about me? Tristan looked at me, didn't answer. And God help me, that was the answer. I felt my heart turn completely soft. No one's ever written a song for me before, I admitted. The corner of Tristan's mouth curved up slightly. Then I win. Win against who? Every man on earth. I laughed. Then his phone vibrated. The smile on his lips vanished almost instantly. Ethan calling. Again. I watched Tristan's shoulders tense. You don't have to answer, I said quietly. I know. But this time, Tristan didn't decline right away. He just stared at the screen for a long time. Too long. An uncomfortable feeling crept into my chest. Not anger. Fear. Fear that some part of Tristan still belonged to someone else. Finally, he picked up. What? I couldn't hear what Ethan was saying on the other end. But Tristan's expression kept getting worse. You're drunk. No, that doesn't change anything. Ethan. Tristan's voice suddenly broke. My chest clenched hard. Then he stood up and walked out into the hallway. The door closed behind him, and I sat there in silence, the guitar still vibrating faintly. This was bad. I hated this feeling. Hated that a single phone call was enough to pull Tristan away from me. 10 minutes. 20 minutes. 30 minutes. Tristan still hadn't come back. Finally, I got up and opened the door, and found him sitting on the hallway floor beside the vending machine. Head down. Hands trembling slightly. My heart dropped. Tristan. He looked up. Eyes red. God. I had never seen Tristan cry. Hey. I immediately sat down beside him. Hey. What happened? Tristan smiled painfully, but his voice broke completely. I hate myself. Don't say that. He said. Tristan swallowed hard. He said nobody can put up with me for long. The blood in my body nearly boiled over. That son of a... And the worst part is... Tristan laughed like he was about to genuinely cry. Part of me still believes him. I looked at him, at the red eyes, the trembling shoulders, the hurt that Tristan always tried to hide behind jokes. Then I put my arms around him. At first Tristan went rigid, like he wasn't used to being held when he was falling apart like this. Then slowly he pressed his face into my neck, and shook very slightly. Listen to me, I whispered. There is nothing wrong with you. Tristan gripped my shirt tightly. I'm trying to believe that. Then let me believe it for you first. He was quiet for a long time. Then I felt his voice, barely audible, close to my ear. Leo. I think I'm falling in love with you. My heart stopped for one full second.